This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and good morning. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we have found a hapless impala up the tree. My name is Steve, everybody. Good morning and welcome on board your live African safari. Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where it is a wonderful 15 degrees Celsius, nice and overcast, and we've managed to catch up with an impala that was treed by Columba yesterday. So it's not some rare and endangered species of impala that climbs trees, it's an animal that's been put up the tree for eating. But hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Niels on camera. We're very excited to have you with us on this morning. We do apologize about any streaming issues that you might have experienced. The gremlins have been on a rampage this morning, it seems, but our tech team has been working very hard excuse me, to bring us back from the wild, and we're trying to follow up on the Princess Kalamba that TRISHALA found yesterday. And we think she's somewhere nearby, but she's obviously having a little nap. She's managed to tree this little yearling impala male beautifully with his horn underneath a branch there. She's done a very good job. I think we would struggle to be able to hoist an animal, let alone catch it in the tree like that. You often find leopards do much better with male impala, with the ability to wrap the horn around the branch. The jaw and the horn have got a very good way of sort of attaching themselves. And don't forget, we are live and interactive. If you have any questions, comments, please send them to #WildEarth. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream or put them in on Twitch.
Morning, guys. Look at this beautiful, beautiful morning. It's just lovely. I said the sun is coming out, the zebra are kicking up some dust. It's so warm. It feels like a spring morning. Oh, I just love it. We've just been sitting or parked quite far back, as you can see, and just enjoying this wonderful scene. Hi everyone, my name is TRISHALA and I've got Theo on camera this lovely, lovely morning. I think today is what I'm going to say is a springish. Not officially spring, but definitely a springish. There's even some knobthorns that have been flowering like crazy. There's one near the dam cam. I'm actually not sure if you'll be able to see it. It's a little bit behind the lodge. Just stunning. And it's been, when we got out this morning, it was 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's definitely warmed up significantly. And it's just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. In fact, I think I'm going to be quiet, and you guys can just watch it. The sun, the lights, the trees, oh, and listen to the sounds. I'm absolutely taken by today, this morning, once the sun came out, with the clouds and this lovely mist in the background. The air feels fresh but a little bit warm, with this slight scent of the trees and this grassy smell, vegetation smell. There's the sound of some buffalo off to the south. Even had a fish eagle. GM, you're just commenting on the trees, the clouds, the sun, the zebras. It's just, I think, one of the most perfect mornings. Just perfect. A couple deep breaths. It's going to be a great day, I think. The color is stunning. Theo, if you could just show them the blue sky, or the blue clouds, strangely, on the left here, with the lovely colors of the trees. It's a gray blue, a dull gray blue, but I still love it. So many beautiful colors of the trees and the sky and the sun. I think it's going to be an awesome day.
Classic. Literally, as you came to us, our elephant that was standing right next to the car did move just behind us. I'm going to try and reposition us in a moment. But welcome, my name is Michael Anderson, behind the camera is Gert, and we are sitting here at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy with a lovely herd of elephant bulls. The same herd that we've been seeing the last few days. They've been sticking around this area. The herd that has Kumo, our lovely elephant, our very calm, very big elephant bull that we've been filming a while. Okay, what I'm going to try and do is reposition the vehicle so we can have a little view of these elephants as they walk behind us. How close are they behind us there, Gert? Okay, cool. So I can move. I don't want to disturb them, but they're very, very calm this morning. It's a nice, cool morning. It was warm when we woke up, but the cloud cover has made it a little bit colder. Well, it's not warming up as quickly as it would on a sunny day, but almost ready. Right, so we'll just have a quick look at this elephant as it walks off. And then what we're going to do is be sending you over to a lovely leopard.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome back to Chuma, everybody. We have caught up with Kalamba. She's just a little bit further away from the tree, giving birds a very hard time. There she is, everybody. She's got a decent-sized meal up the tree, and yet she's still keen to hunt. It goes to show you the opportunistic nature of these animals. They will hoist multiple kills if they can. Obviously, it's all about energy. Oh, she's going. Left foot forward. Now, it could be a scrub here. There could be a bird there. We're not sure. Just going to allow you to witness this concentration and focus. Foot goes where the front foot was. Just switch it over. She's going to launch herself in a moment at something. like a sprinter on the block, waiting for the gun. Every muscle taut, ready to explode in unison. Just bear in mind that if she does catch something, everybody, it's nature. Those sort of things are against your stomach. Then if she does catch something, I advise that you look away. Both back legs in position to pounce. Good to see she's going to start lifting them one at a time. Getting them in the right position. Both legs absolutely spring-loaded. And she's ready. Can almost see the tension leave her body there. She's realized whatever it is she was about to jump on has gotten out of reach. These animals have such perseverance. I was actually talking about it on my Instagram post last night about the concentration and focus an animal is looking, especially a predator. Can be very certain of what's going on. You might not see what it is that they see, but the intention is very clear. It's two forward-facing eyes, binocular vision, focus, intention, perseverance, dedication. And these animals have a very low success rate, everybody, depending on the individual, anywhere from 20 to 30% success. And there we go. That's what the camouflage does. Now, how many of you out there would be happy with a 20 to 30% success rate in things that you do? I think society has designed us in a way that we are not happy with anything that is not perfect. But we learn, don't we? We should learn from these cats. We should learn from their behavior. And they get on in life with a 20% success. And they're just fine. The failures they don't dwell on, they move on from the failure. And they just lie down, carry on. Okay, Neil, so they're going to try a position for you again so that we can actually see a leopard and not just spots in the long grass. It was probably a small bird or something, everybody, that she was looking at. So we'll just reposition slightly so we can see if we can get her on camera. The tree is, 40 meters, 50 meters away. She likes to do this. Kalamba, she'll hoist a kill, and unless she's feeding, she won't really spend too much time right underneath. She moves off a bit in case a big male leopard arrives and smashes her off the kill, because that can be rather dangerous.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve on this overcast and relatively cool morning. And we have come out to these beautiful open grasslands in our kind of southwestern corner of the reserve in search of some animals this morning. And my name is Clive, and behind the camera today, as per usual, we have Marcel. Now, we came out here, as I say, to look for maybe some cheetah out in the open. Pride of lions, obviously the Bahala pride is out in this area. This is part of their territory. But the first thing we've managed to find is quite a big herd of buffalo, which have kind of moved off into the bushes there while you guys have had that exciting leopard sighting over with Steve. They've just moved a little bit into the bushes. Can't see them too well anymore now. but they were probably sleeping out in this kind of open area off on our left-hand side, and they've just started getting up and getting a bit more active and starting to graze for the morning. Now this is the perfect time for these buffalo to start feeding, nice and early in the morning, not too hot, not too cold. There was even a bit of rain here when we started driving out this morning. Well, rain is actually a strong word, a bit of drizzle, should I say. But yeah, and we've been sitting here probably for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I've been keeping a very good listen out as well, because a lot of the, well, not all predators, but lions anyway, will sometimes still be calling at this time of the morning, so we've been listening out, but no luck just yet. And I think while those buffalo move off into the bushes there, I'm going to carry on along the road here. Shinzi, you asking what is the average size herd of a herd of buffalo? This one, while they were out in the open, I was looking around and there were probably about 30 or 40, so not a very big herd. Normally I'd say a herd is bigger than that, in the region of 50 or 60. Some areas you can get herds, especially in the wet season when there's a lot more water and a lot more food around. You'll find huge herds of sometimes a couple of hundred, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, while we carry on searching out through these grassland areas, we'll let you carry on with your safari.
Good morning, everyone, from what is a particularly good morning out here at Tswalu Kalahari. For those of you who haven't met us, Jean-Ray behind the camera there, my name's Dylan, and as always, it is just nothing but an absolute pleasure having you join us on these safaris. We've got something pretty special, isn't even the word, pretty unbelievable, exciting, incredible, amazing, whatever other descriptive term you want to use for it, that we're going to be showing you this morning. And we are standing in one of the most remarkable places on Tswalu Kalahari. So this area that we're in is known, or we call it, Bushman Hill. And there's a very good reason why we call it that. Up on top of these hills, and we are right on the very top of what are known as the Coronaberg Hills. This is an area that none of you have seen yet. We've only been seeing these hills from a far distance, but I've decided to bring you up here. It's an incredibly special place. But right up on this peak, on the top of these Coronaberg Hills, there's lots and lots of evidence of the early inhabitants of this land that we're staying in. And over the next couple of hours, I'm actually going to show you some of the traces that they've left. And this is going to be very special. Feel free to ask questions. There's a lot that we don't know about these sites, but there's also a lot that we have learnt. And yeah, just please feel free to ask any questions and we'll try to find answers for you.
This is a buffalo, everyone. Hello? It's quite a large herd, and most of them actually moved off. This cow is one of the few left. There's a nice boss on that male. Lovely kitties, if you have any questions, won't you send them to us using kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. And of course, also the hashtag WildEarth for everybody else, as well as the YouTube chat stream. Now this is interesting that these buffalo are around. This one's got the nose in the air. Who are you? What is that? They have a very strong sense of smell, so that's their first thing they'd want to do when they see something that's foreign or they're unsure about, like our vehicle, is to pick up their nose. What are you? Now I say it's interesting because there's some lion audio coming from the north. So perhaps the lions may get a meal today. Coming from the north, I mean, it could be difficult. It could be Buffelshoek Dam. It could be up into Buffelshoek. It could be Cheetah Katwai, maybe northeast. So it could be the Telematis or the Nkuhumas, especially since now there's this little bit of an overlap, as we've seen in our recent sightings with both of them. And I think we're going to move up that way to just have a look. Buffelshoek Dam would be a good idea. But I am in the hyena den block, and I'm going to check out the den. But with these beautiful beasts around, I'm not sure how active it would be. Plus, with Tlalamba and her kill, the hyenas are likely to also have their noses in use, but to the ground, trying to sniff out.
God exists, why does he allow so many people to die? Why does he allow wars to take place? If it's just like, there we go. So we've got, sorry, I'm laughing. We were caught totally off guard there. But what we've got over here, okay, so this location, why these locations were chosen now, if you pan down here, if you look at this depression that we're in, and this is key to what these sites are about, this depression that we're in over here, okay, it's very shallow, but what happens here is when you get rainfall, this actually inundates with water. Okay, there's one just at the back which we're going to show you now as well. Okay, and this water is absolutely critical to these sites. Interestingly, in these landscapes, as water became more and more scarce, because we chatted about it the other day, that with these glacial periods that took place, remember I was saying that it wasn't necessarily that this area was covered in snow and ice, okay? And that about 260 to 360 million years ago, this area was covered in glaciers. But at the last ice age, about 18,000 years ago, this area had no ice on it, but it was just extremely arid, cold and arid, okay? And as these ice ages crept on, these little pans and pools, and I'll show you a very special one just now, would have retained water longer and longer and longer, and would have had more and more significance for the early inhabitants of these areas. What I think would have appealed to them in a very big way, even when other water sources were available, is the fact that this water would have been sitting on the top of a hill, and that is just unusual normally. We've looked at those of you with us a couple of weeks ago, Jeandra and I actually looked at that single hole in the rock. Remember, I dipped the stick in it and there was water in there. So sites like this, for early mankind on these landscapes, would have been really unusual, odd, and in some ways, and in fact in many ways, would have been incredibly significant from the perspective of trance dancers, their shamans, in other words, you don't want to call them witch doctors. That's not the right term. But their shamans, their spiritual leaders would probably be the better term there. Would have used these sites for actually doing their practices of healing people, calling rain, that kind of thing, and that's also for essentially blessing the hunts before the guys went out hunting. So these sites had huge significance to the early inhabitants of these lands. When I talk about the early inhabitants, I'm specifically referring to the San Enos has asked, here's an interesting question from the geology of the area. How did the cracks in these rocks form? And why it's interesting is because there's a couple of different things that you can discuss about the cracks. So remember, these rocks are ancient. When I say ancient, we are going back. These quartzites that we're sitting on here, it's what we call partly metamorphosized quartzite or sandstone. So it's a mix between quartzite and sandstone, and they are about 1.6 billion years old. 1.6 billion years old. Remember when we were sitting doing our duck watch yesterday that we didn't see, but we'll do it again today. I had those beautiful stromatolites, or that example of a stromatolite. That is 2 billion years old. That's actually, oh, look at the sun. Oh my word, guys, look at this. That is nuts. I'm coming back to the cracks in the rock, but look at that sunrise. When have you ever seen something so spectacular? This is heaven up here. But yeah, so with the cracks in the rock, so these rocks are incredibly ancient, and they are folded as well. So imagine this. You've got a piece of cement. You've made a slab of cement. Okay, it's nice and wet, and you could potentially fold it, bend it, or put it over a container, and it would take that form. Okay, but as it starts drying out, what happens? It'll start cracking. And if there's any flex on that piece of cement, you can get more cracks forming. That's the easiest way I can explain it. So this used to be sediments at one stage. It solidified into sandstone over time with a lot of pressure, tectonic plate shifting. This became compressed at high heat and became metamorphosized into quartzites. But as that started flexing and bending, you get all these natural cracks forming. But why that question is so good, particularly in light of what we're going to show you just now, is that these cracks had a very, very special significance to the sand that lived in these areas. Now, when I refer to sand, they also commonly referred to as bushmen, and bushmen used to be a very derogatory term for these people. It is widely accepted now, and many people are embracing it as an acknowledged term for the early inhabitants of these lands. So sand, bushman, you can use that term interchangeably.
Oh, gee whiz. And you're back with us, everybody. Tlalamba has given up her hunt. Probably hear my friend in the background. Not very happy. There's a leopard on the ground here. Known as a go-away bird, everybody, with a kwek-kwek-fool in Afrikaans. If any of you have ever seen, we're talking about sand, sand. Ever seen the guards must be crazy? Talking about the topic you were on moments before. Guards must be crazy. If you've never seen it, everybody, you need to do yourself a favor. It's all about. Sorry about my radio there, everybody. It's all about a Coke bottle that lands in this sort of Khoisan community and causes all sorts of strife amongst these people who are living nomadically off the land. And so the main guy ends up going off to the city and get away to go throw the bottle off the end of the earth. It's quite a tale, I must tell you. But he's trying to hunt some antelope with his bow and arrow, and the go-away bird shouts, and all the animals run away. And then in the next scene, he looks at the bird with this abject disdain, and then the next scene you see what looks like a small bird roasting on a rotisserie over the fire. So he got some food to eat. It wasn't an antelope. It was a very tasty and annoying bird. Because apparently the go-away bird is supposed to, according to that movie, be an alarm call and a warning I've never seen animals running away at the COWIE of the COWIE bird. There he is. Oh, of course. He's not gone away. Nice one, Niels. Unfortunately, he's feeding on little leaf shoots and buds that are coming through. There we go. How's that camouflage? We're hoping we're going to get the little princess back up the tree. I can't actually believe how time is flying. I keep thinking of Kalamba as a 2-year-old when in November she will be 3. Can you believe it? Hello, Fred. Yes, indeed. Leopards are very opportunistic. You've probably heard the story of if a cat gets into the chicken coop, it will kill everything. They can't help themselves. There's this desire and this need to be opportunistic and to catch as much as possible. And they will kill again and again if the opportunity presents itself. But if it's too difficult, obviously they're not going out to store as much food as they possibly can. But if an animal just walks into them or makes themselves very available, they will hunt again. I've told the story before of a male leopard we found once in the morning. He stalked and killed a baby zebra. And then when we got back to him in the afternoon, up the tree, he had the zebra and 2 baby warthogs, all precariously perched over the same branch. A proper little larder. It's not often you find it, though, but they will repeatedly kill. And a lot of the things that they kill you don't even know, because it's a francolin or it's a scrubbear, which they can eat in a matter of moments. I watched Kalamba killing that little quail once, and that was a couple of seconds, just a little hors d'oeuvre for her. You find in the Masai Mara as well, in the migration, the lions are just so instinctively drawn to killing that they'll just kill again and again and again without even feeding on what they kill. It's because it's just that cacophony or that sort of overwhelming sort of movement of animals running around them, almost as if they're in a chicken coop with animals that can't flee. I think the same goes for foxes. They'll do the same thing. Obviously, animals need to get away, and then the predator's sort of mindset calms down. But if something keeps moving and running around them, they cannot help themselves. Of course, though, if their belly is extremely full and they're fat and flat on the ground and it's hot, they'll weigh up that need to catch something versus that need to rest and conserve the energy. But on a nice cool morning like this, overcast, she's got a kill safely stashed in a tree. They always want to prepare themselves for more food if need be. Sorry, Lindex, you're not coming through very clearly there. I don't know whose name that was, but you want to know if other leopards can smell. Yes, definitely, leopards will find the kill. Hyenas, lions. Ruth. Lions or hyenas will definitely be able to find the kill. The way she's got it up the tree, I doubt a lioness would be able to get up there. It's quite highly placed and a bit awkward. Hyena will just lurk around the bottom waiting, but her biggest concern is a male leopard arriving on the scene to steal it. She'd probably be able to keep a female at bay, but a male leopard, she would just have to move off. And so that's why she likes to move off from it a short distance. The smell of the kill will attract whoever, and they'll go straight there. And she's out of the way, so she can avoid being detected by whoever it is that's approaching. Okay, everybody, well, we're going to stay right here with Kalamba. Hopefully she goes back for some breakfast.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We've started the day off really, really well. We've got this nice big pride of lions in the riverbed, and they haven't moved more than 200 meters from where we left them yesterday. Good morning. My name is Eric, and behind camera is Owen as always. And like I say, we're sitting in the Timbavati riverbed, not too far from where we had these lions this morning, or these lions last night at least. And look at that one grooming the other one. They're both kind of licking each other around the neck and the face. And if you look at the cubs, all of them, they've all got these magnificent, huge, round bellies. And so sometime throughout the night, they managed to catch something. And by the looks of things, it was something large. So maybe a zebra or a wildebeest, something big enough to fill all 12 of the lions here that we have. That is two very, very round, fat, sleepy cats. It's really cool to see. There's one of the older females, so she might have been one of the ones that did the majority of the hunting. But quite incredible to see how short of a distance they had to cover last night. And this area around the riverbed is so productive, so they probably just sat and waited the whole afternoon and used their senses, like their hearing and their smell, to maybe get an idea of where other animals are. And this morning, joined by this nice big male. He looks big enough too, so he might have just got the end of the carcass. And directly behind him, that other sleeping lion, is the mother of the two cubs. The two newest cubs, at least. And she must have left sometime throughout the night, gone to go fetch the cubs a little bit earlier on when we were looking for any sign of these lions or whatever else we could find. We saw her and the cubs' tracks walking down the road, and it looks like she might have left them maybe about 400 or 500 meters away from where these lions are, and she's decided to come back to the rest of the pride. And so she decided to keep them at a safe distance. You never know, maybe she'll decide to eventually bring them back later on in this evening. So she's a lioness that we'll keep close watch on this morning. It'll be very cool to follow her back to call the cubs and see what she decides to do with them from there. So they've all come down into the riverbed, and I think one of the reasons why they've decided to choose this spot is in this little depression. The little depression up ahead is where pretty much there's the last remaining surface water within this area of the river. And so after a nice big meal, they would have gone to go and lap up something to drink and then come to relax on the sand here. And one of the reasons why I say that it was probably from sometime in the night that they made this kill is they're all pretty clean. I mean, they don't really have any blood around their faces anymore, which has given them time to go to one another and clean each other, like we're seeing the two on the right hand side over there doing. And I guess if we have a very, very close look at that big one on the left hand side, you might just see a slight different color of maybe like an orangey tinge to her shoulders there, but not very apparent. Maybe if you look at the white cub, there's this, that's maybe a slightly better example. On his front and side of the shoulder, it looks quite bloody. And that lioness is doing her best to try and block our view. I'm surprised she can bend that far around with such a large belly. I think the word comatose is the right word to be using when describing a couple of these lions. Anna Maria, I think these lions are going to be flat for the whole day, and with the amount of food that they've got in their stomachs, they might not even move tonight. They could maybe wander a few hundred meters or so and settle down. And having said that, they are very, very opportunistic, and these lionesses know that there's lots of young, growing, hungry cubs to feed. And so if there's an opportunity that presents itself, they will definitely go and try and hunt something tonight. Almost seems impossible if they catch something. I mean, most of them won't be able to fit anything more in. So it will be actually quite interesting to just take note of the cubs' belly sizes, because they're the ones that bulge. And we might come back later to see how fast they metabolize. Yogesh, I'm sure the kill would be nearby. You know, they wouldn't leave a kill unattended, unless they've finished with it. And I mean, they would have, if they made the kill, you know, all of them would have rushed onto it. And there's a very, very big competition, and there's lots of fighting and growling amongst each other when they're fighting for a piece of meat. And as a result, because they're trying to outcompete one another, they eat incredibly quickly. And so, I mean, a zebra would probably be finished within maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours, where there's absolutely nothing left. And once that happens, they'll get up and move away. And because the lions have been making such a noise with the growling and the snarling and the fighting, it will attract hyenas. And when those hyenas hear that, they'll basically just lurk on the outskirts of the pride, and when they move off, the hyenas will come in and swoop in. So there was definitely a kill close by, but I would imagine that most of it has completely disappeared and gone. Right, welcome back everyone. We were just watching an African harrier hawk digging in this dead tree for any food. Now we're just trying to find it again because it flew off as soon as we came live. Okay, I see him again. Let me just find a little gap here. All these little trees in the way. It's a really beautiful bird with these extremely flexible legs that they dig out in around these trees in little holes or in cracks in the bark, and just flew away again. Typical birds. You can just see them going there. I know I've watched a few other episodes before where these birds where you have seen these birds before if you're a regular viewer. And they're amazing. I mean, these marula trees have got pieces of bark that are coming off, and they literally like dig their feet in or use their beak and pull that off to look for all sorts of little lizards or anything that could be hiding under there. Really amazing little birds. Anyway, but as you can see, we're in a really big, wide open grassland here, and these are all the areas that we are out searching for animals today. We are hoping for something like a cheetah or a lion, but we'll take anything that comes along. Now it's quite rainy in the distance. Some of those mountains are covered in clouds, but it's actually a really nice morning here. It's a really nice morning here too. It's one of the warmest mornings that we've had in a long time. So these lions are definitely enjoying a nice, relaxed morning. It's amazing. After the cub and one of the adults finished grooming themselves, they went and lay down and they haven't moved again. So this lioness that's got her back to us, she is one of the older lionesses of the group. And so her and her, I guess her cousin, are the two oldest ones responsible for looking after the pride. And so she was probably one of the ones that were instrumental in catching something last night. And she is pretty much she is the female that's been the most successful in terms of raising her cubs. And she has got three generations here that she's managed to successfully raise. And so the lioness that's directly to the right of her, you'll see her now. So her, who's just come into view, she is the oldest generation of cubs. So she's essentially now, she's almost 8 years old. She's an adult. She's had her cubs of her own. And then her next generation is here is the female with the newest cubs, who's about 4.5 years old now. So her and her brother, who we still haven't seen in a while. And then she's got, I think, 2 of the cubs or the sub-adults that we are seeing here. So a very, very successful lioness. Galley cats eating as much as they can like this is something that lions do. And it doesn't really put them at a disadvantage. I mean, it might make them a little bit slower. But if you were any animal in the African bush and you were walking down towards these lions and you saw 12 lions as big as they are scattered in this riverbed, your first instinct would probably be to turn around and walk away, knowing what lions are capable of, barring maybe something like a big herd of elephants or a big herd of buffaloes, something like that. And so it doesn't necessarily put them at a disadvantage because they know themselves that they're the apex predators. And so they're very, very comfortable sleeping and resting like this, knowing that there's the potential of something coming in to threaten them is very, very low. And so, I mean, it's actually quite important for them to feed as much as they can, because it takes a lot of energy to hunt, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days until they eventually are successful in their hunt. And so when they get an opportunity, they'll try and eat as much as they can.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
So this site is, like I say, really, really interesting from the perspective of early human occupation of these areas. When we're talking about the rock art that we're going to see just now, or what we call petroglyphs, which are engravings, I'll go through all those dates and that, but there's other anecdotal evidence around the site for early human occupation. And I'm just going to I will place these all back exactly where I found them. But just to give you some idea of, in fact, this one, sorry, I'm going to be a pain there. Can you get that in the light with the sun behind it?
Yep, absolutely.
There we go, look at that. You must see how sharp this flake is. It is, even now, after thousands of years, this thing is still razor sharp. And this would be very, very, very easy to cut a piece of meat or scrape a piece of skin with a stone flake like that. And there's, I mean, I can go into all the detail of why we say it's a stone flake and not just a random thing. It's been flaked off on multiple facets. There's secondary touch-ups on the edge to give it a serrated edge. But anyway, so there's lots of examples of these kind of things lying around you. And importantly, again, you always replace things where you actually pick them up, and you never ever take artifacts from these sites. That is absolutely crucial. But just look at the amount of flakes lying around here. There's beautiful examples all over. But as we walk around here, other things start coming to light. Here's a fragment of bone. Now, I'm not saying this is from people. I'm not saying it's a person. I don't mean that. What I'm saying is I'm not saying that, inferring that this is people that brought these up here. But when you start looking around here, there's a piece of a hoof, of an animal's hoof. I don't know what that is. Maybe, yeah, just could be I don't know. It's one of the antelope. Here is a jawbone of a small herbivore, possibly a duiker or something. Anna Marie has just asked, was there a lot of ancient volcanic activity in the Kalahari? Not in this particular area, but what they call the Kaapvaal Craton, which is up towards the Johannesburg area. There was a lot of activity there, and in fact that massive upwelling of volcanic rock actually caused some subsistence over there. In other words, I'm not talking about like human subsistence, it caused the landscape to subside and actually lifted these, which is partly the reason why these hills that we're on now actually lifted up from this landscape. But that is very ancient. We do have some examples of igneous rock on Tswalu, dolerite, but I can show you that at some point as well. But so you see all these little bone fragments. There's a piece of ostrich eggshell. Ostrich eggshell, how cool is that? So this is starting to raise the question, well, if you get these things lying around here, and as we look, here's a large bone. Oh, I went to the doctor the other day, by the way. I'd broken my arm, but he didn't think it was humorous. Okay, that was weak. So anyway, and as you start moving down here, I'll bring a piece up. You just don't go anywhere. All around here, there is hair. Now it's starting to get interesting, eh? And there are lots of bone fragments up here. I'll get some for you. There's some more teeth. There's someone's teeth. There's another nice long bone. So what is going on here? And now it gets interesting. Here's even even springbuck horns. So what could this be? And how cool is this, guys? Where we are standing. If you look over here, look at this big hole inside the rocks over here. Okay? Now, any number of things could be living in a hole like that. It could be porcupines, but I don't think so. Going on this track over here, that is clear evidence of brown hyena. And we obviously have the unfair advantage. We know this hyena den site has been here for decades, and we've actually done some really good, interesting camera trapping work on this particular clan of brown hyenas. So we're going to move away from the spot now. They're all sleeping. We're not going to disturb them.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Juma Safari. We are still on a sighting of a leopard. My name is Raymond, together with Nelson, the camera. We're right over here, together with this Shalamba, where she is relaxing, breathing up and up. I believe that the hyena on that hole maybe she will make something to tell you what is inside of the hole. So, Kalamba, she's still relaxing. I hope she'll go and have a little bit breakfast. Because once we arrived here, she was not on a tree, and she's still on the ground. The stomach also tells us that she's not 100% full. She will go back again to enjoy his breakfast. There is still lots of food on the tree. It's almost about 50 meters from here we are to exactly where the carcass is. Oh, nice yawning. Oh no, that's fantastic. Don't worry a lot, because she had something that if I wake up over here, what am I going to do? She already have got a plan for a day. Thanks, that's a good question. For their food, not really. It's depending where could they win to defend. Sometimes on the other way, where they can't manage to defend, that's why even for their food, they put it on top of the tree. It's a part of defensive through to the lions. They can't manage to get that food, and on the ground she's relaxing that she can manage to run off whatever as it is. So for those one they can't win, they can defend. For those one they can win, they can defend. TX, that question is so complicated. It's too big for the world, and the leopard, they occupy a certain area where they make their territory, where they can own their own land on that area. Less than 10 kilometers square for one leopard. So it is a little bit difficult for me. How many leopards? Evenly in here we are, I don't know exactly how many leopards we got. That's nice sounds of a bird that tell us we are really, really in life. In a bush, if you can listen very carefully, let's take a moment of silence a little bit to hear the song of the birds that we are really in a bush. fantastic. She's up. Maybe she will decide to go to their prey, to have a little bit, still early in the morning, for her. Yes, Momo, it is true. Some of them they know, some of them they don't know. As the birds are plenty, some of them will call it a go-away bird. It was here, keep on calling, go away, go away, go away. So it was sort of a warning to other animals that be aware. There are something which can manage to kill you for the predators. So those others, they know that once it's calling like that, it should be a predator very close. They will try to be carefully. So they do alert for the other animals that can manage, those they have got a predator. The birds, together with the other animals, are sort of one team. So if the other birds shouting, oh, nice yawning. If the other birds keep on shouting and those animals have got a predator, they're starting to be careful. Sometimes those birds, they can call for the owl, even for the snake, they can do. So once they realize what is this, they're starting to relax. It is a good question for the tiger in South Africa. Actually, the tiger like a little bit cold air. So here in South Africa, we have got the warm temperature. So they do like a little bit place or area where it's a little bit cold. So we can't have the tigers in here, only in the zoo where they can manage to control the temperature. Not in the bush, they can't control the temperature. Sometimes here in South Africa, especially this site where we are, our temperature can go up to 48 to 50 sometimes. So it is very, very, very hot for the tigers. That's why we don't have Adam. We're going to stay right over here for a while to see if it's going to have his breakfast.
So Owen and I were thinking about leaving the sighting because not much was happening. As you can see, that lion is completely out. He's relaxed, lying on his back. And the reason why we decided to stick around for a little bit longer is we saw that lioness who's kept her cubs away from the rest of the pride picked up her head, and we're starting to look around, and then literally 2 minutes ago she put her head down and is now resting. So that's her there with her head on her paws, and we thought maybe she decided, especially if she's fed something, it might be a good opportunity for her to get up and lead us back towards where she kept her cubs. Unfortunately, nothing has happened yet, and so if things don't change within the next 10 minutes or so, I think we might wander on. But there's at least 1 or 2 lions. I mean, on the right hand side of the pride there's one female who's got her head up, and she's got her mouth open at the moment, and she's been spending quite a lot of time looking around. But if you watch her, look how heavily she's breathing. See, her whole body is moving. And I think that's just from being so full. That stomach is really almost like pushing up against her lungs. She's not really getting a proper breath, and she's almost looking quite uncomfortable, but a very good uncomfortable to be. And she keeps looking back in that direction. She spent the last 5 minutes staring down into the banks. And I mean, it could be anything from birds moving along the bank. Sometimes inyala and kudus come feeding along the banks of the river on this side over here. And we haven't seen anything yet. And she might even just be looking back up towards where she had the kill. But no real sign of life there, so maybe she's just looking around and just making sure that her pride is safe. I think they're quite lucky that it's not too hot at the moment, so they're quite happy to sit out and about and just enjoy the morning as it starts to warm up a little bit, but this cloud cover is really not letting it warm up too much too quickly. Just if we go quickly to the left hand side, there was a little francolin that walks straight past one of the lions. It's now scuttled on and increased its distance. But there are quite a few little birds that are drinking on that rock at the moment. As I say that, they fly away. But some very pretty colors. That one that's just moved up is a red-billed firefinch. We saw blue waxbills. There was a yellow-breasted, yellow-fronted canary at least. So red, blue, yellows. Very colorful little birds. On our right, we've got another sub-adult that's just picked up its head and is looking almost in the same direction as that big adult. A consulting detective, the white lioness, is unfortunately not with the pride. And she hasn't been for the last 3 days. We're not entirely sure where she is exactly or what happened to them, but maybe about 6 days or 7 days ago, actually, almost about a week ago, they crossed out of Ngala towards the west, spent about 4 or 5 days in the areas to the west of Ngala, and then they've just come back. And when they came back into the reserve, there was no sign of that young white female. So we're not entirely sure. The young white female and the young male lion with a limp are missing. So those are the only two lions that are unaccounted for, and we have no idea what's happened to them. And I mean, if they don't make it, it's a tragedy, but this is exactly what lions go through. They go through these times where, you know, the pride is very successful and they're doing well, and it's quite natural. This lioness has just reacted to something. She's shot up, and she's all of a sudden looking very interested. Look, now she stood up again. And a few of the other lionesses have picked up on her behavior. I wonder what she decides to do from here. I still haven't seen anything. I find it amazing. The only thing that lioness has done is gone from sitting down to standing up. And there are 4 other lions that picked up on her behavior, and they're looking in exactly the same place that she is. And that was all without communicating. They all heard what she was doing. And I would... Oh, okay, there's a lion. There's another lion. I've just seen it. So, you got it. So there's another lion coming. And I think it might be one of the Ross males. So the dominant males to the pride. It looks like it's one of the ones with the darker mane. But she still needs to be concerned about it. And this lion also doesn't seem like he knows what's going on, because he's watching from a distance. And he's approaching slowly now. Very, very slowly. And one of the other lionesses has just gotten up. So just when we thought that nothing was going to happen for the morning, it seems like there could be some action, and it's taking its time, but I'm not going to leave until this male lion rejoins with the pride.
Right, that does sound very exciting, and we've found another herd of elephants here at Pride Lands. This one here is just behind the bushes, but it looks like a female that has a youngster just crossed to the left of the road. So I think this one's also going to cross to the left of the road soon, which is pretty cool. They've all been very, very relaxed. We had them literally all around the vehicles. The wonderful thing about elephants is if you just sit quietly, often they'll come right up to the vehicle and all around the vehicle. And as long as you don't make noise and push yourselves in amongst the herd, it's usually wonderful and calm and exciting. So these elephants have been doing just that. Still just eating all this dry stuff. It looks super uncomfortable. I really hope that we get early rains this year so that these elephants can stop feeding on all these dry sticks and start eating some luscious green grass and leaves again. I feel like this is not the best for those elephants' teeth. I'm sure you all know that elephants only grow a certain amount of teeth, sets of teeth in their life, and once all those teeth are destroyed, of course these elephants won't be able to eat much anymore. So they need to look after their teeth. Dental hygiene is extremely important. This one looks like it's flung up those little sticks. Right. While we watch these elephants just making their way past us, we're going to just listen to the sounds of the bush.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Eh?
We're live.
Oh, we're live?
Yep.
So I'm just looking at like a whole pile of stone tools over here. But the thing that I want to show you here now, and this is the first example of the actual rock art. And that in itself can be a very controversial thing. When we talk about art, it implies that there's some kind of appreciation for it. And I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about the people that actually did it. There was a purpose. So these ones that I'm looking at here in particular is very, very interesting. And I'm not going to go into the controversial side of it. You know, everyone can go look it up for themselves, and you can do your homework and talk about it. But what we're seeing here, all these little hollows in the rock, okay, these are known as cupules. Cupules, very characteristic of the engraved sites, but not all of them. But they normally associated with water points. And on Tswalu, typically up on these hills, wherever water did accumulate, like these, what we call these clip buck. A clip buck is a water receptacle, like this big one here, down to the left-hand side over here. This is another really good example of a clip buck that would actually retain water during the rainy season. Another one that we're going to show you just now is an even better example, and that one actually holds water until quite late into the dry season. But what's really interesting about these cupules, and this is where it, this is where it gets very interesting, is that with any of the petroglyphs, any of the engravings, it's incredibly difficult to date these things, because we can go to geologists and they can tell us how old this parent rock is, and we know it's 1.6 billion years old. The question is, how do we age any kind of man-made marks on the rock? And all of these hollows are all of these hollows are man-made. Now, there is a chap that's done some really interesting work on the antiquity of these. And if you look at Southern Africa, the oldest known rock art that we have in Southern Africa is between 27,000 and 29,000 years old. Okay, there's mobile rock art at a place called Blombos Cave down on the Southern Cape Coast. Very few examples of that around. There's a place in southern Namibia called Apollo 11. These are really, really, really old. But the petroglyphs in Southern Africa are generally 7,000 to 10,000 years old, give or take. There are some that are older, and then a lot that is younger. But where it gets particularly interesting with these cupules, a couple of points. Number one, they tentatively exceed the known dates on any form of rock art anywhere in the world. And I'm not saying just these Tswalu ones, but the Tswalu ones have been aged at over 200,000 years. Okay, there's a huge range there. I'm not going to go into the debate on it. Okay, there's a lot of controversy over those figures as well, but that's one that has been put forward, is over 200,000 years. Now, why that's controversial, you can obviously imagine. If the accepted norm is 29,000 thereabouts, suddenly someone comes up with this figure. Yeah. But what's interesting about it is we've got a fair idea of what the other rock art, which we'll show you just now, why it was done, the meanings, that kind of stuff. But to date, there are over 60 different, in fact, over 70 different theories as to what these cupules' purpose was. Because some of them are in straight lines, they're in patterns. Others are just completely random, like this panel over here. So when you talk about rock art, we talk about a panel. So essentially it would be the same as a canvas that you'd be doing rock art on. These are known as panels. And so on a panel like this, these cupules are all completely random. And the work that was done, you take this one, that's about 5 centimeters across, give or take. To create one of these on this hard rock, this quartzite, very, very hard quartzite, to get one about 5 centimeters across and about 2.5 centimeters deep, which is this, it'll take about 10,000 blows with a hammer rock. So you'd sit here with a stone, peck away, peck away, peck away. It would take about 10,000 blows to create something that size. So anyone that says, oh, this was just, kids doodling on the rock or trying to do something, wow, that would take some dedication for any kid to do that. So there must have been a purpose. Some people say it was to hold ostrich eggshells, if you were collecting water to store them. Well, why have you got some that are in weird places? You get some that are actually on vertical surfaces, and we'll show you some of those just now. But so these cupules are interesting from an age perspective, but also from what was the meaning? Was it utilitarian? In other words, was it a functional thing? Or did it have some other site significance to it in terms of a cultural thing? We don't know the answers to this. And that's what makes the research that we're doing here on Tswalu so much fun. We don't have a particular team at the moment working on it, but we've got a lot of work on the research. Sorry, Kiki has just asked a question. How do we tell? Sorry, I lost it there. What?
Bone from rock.
Oh, bone from rock. Yeah, that's actually a good question, Kiki. And what I'll do to help you out there, and just I'll get a reminder of that question just now, is when we actually get down there, I'll show you. Bone is normally very, very brittle. And you can actually look at it carefully. And I must actually, I'll try and find I've got a magnifying glass lying around somewhere. I'll actually bring that with on it. It's easier than using the binoculars, because you can also use binoculars for that. But I'll bring a magnifying glass, and you can actually, and I'll show you the differences. You can see very clearly the difference between bone and the rock over here. But yeah, I think I really want us to move down. We're going to show you some of the rock art at these sites. But I just really wanted to highlight here just how little we know. There are certain aspects of these sites that we are well acquainted with. But then there's these other pieces like this that are just completely unknown so far, and there's a lot of theories about it. What I find particularly fascinating about it, and this is my own, I'm going out on a limb here, I promise you it's my own opinion, is when we look at the ages of these, and we say, well, it's impossible to be over 200,000 years old because nothing else on the archaeological record in terms of art has been shown to be that kind of age, so there's no ways this will be that. And yet, in the same breath, we can marvel at Acheulean hand axes, those lovely teardrop-shaped hand axes that are widely distributed across the globe. And some of these have got a degree of craftsmanship in them that is incredibly detailed. Now, I just find in my own mind it's difficult for someone to say, well, yeah, these can be made by pre-modern humans. They can manufacture these incredibly beautiful things, but they're incapable of doing something like this. I'm not saying these were made by pre-modern humans, but anyway, I'm just putting that out there. You can decide for yourself. But Google it, Cupules, C-U-P-U-L-E-S. There's some fun stuff on it. So Jason has asked a really fascinating question there, and it actually links directly in with what we're seeing here. These cupules, these what we call open-air sites. The Northern Cape, this region that we're sitting in, and there are other areas in South Africa that have also got it, but this Northern Cape is particularly well known for the lack of paintings, sand paintings, and it is particularly well known for its abundance of petroglyphs. Okay, so the engravings, there's a little caterpillar cruising over the rock here, just out of interest. I was like, life forms of all sorts. I don't even know who you are. Who are you? No, he's not going to answer me now. If anyone's got any guesses, feel free. But so back to the question in terms of these open-air sites. One of the features of this region that we're in is this rock structure, these quartzites that this little guy's walking on and these cupules on, is not good for cave formation at all. Okay, we do have a couple of outcrops of dolomite on the reserve. That is probably some of the best stuff on the planet for cave formations. And if you look at places like Lascaux, Chauveau, these are all in dolomitic formation. So that really, the water dissolves that rock and you get these massive cave systems forming. We've got very few examples of that in these regions. So typically you need those rock shelters or caves where people would have been able to do their rock art, and it lasts. Well, again, we're not saying that paintings were not done in the outdoors. Okay, but it's probably unlikely. The amount of time and effort that we know was spent on doing this kind of rock art, it would probably be unlikely that they would have invested that amount of time and energy into painting surfaces like this, knowing full well that with the first rains it would be gone. That being said, we can't say that for sure. We cannot say unequivocally, I messed that word up, unequivocally, slowly, Smith, that paintings were never done in the outdoors, in an open site like this. Maybe they were, and it could also have been, there was some ephemeral significance that maybe they did a painting knowing, well, it would get washed away the first rains, and there was some symbolism there. I don't know. But what we do know is that the petroglyphs are a key feature of these regions.
Welcome back again. We need to reposition on top of the area in Juma. So the calabash have moved a little bit, so we need to reposition as well, if we can manage to see. Let me try as much as it is, but we can manage to get her again. It's a little bit complicated. She is, but we'll try. Can get here. You tell me to stop. You got her? Okay. Yes, we did manage to reposition for her. She's still lying down. She moved a little bit further from where she was. So it's coming a little bit further south. There was also some impala which make a call. I think maybe it's those ones to move a little bit, to hide. They are very shy and solitary, these animals. Didn't copy this question.
Do they purr? Do leopards purr?
Luluva, the leopard, as I said, solitary. They've been pair while still under parental or pair as a mating. But for them to stay alone, they do solitary. Once it's managed to hunt for themselves, they move out from mom. Mom have to do his own, and the young one have to do his own. So if you find them 2 or 3, that means if there are 3, it's 2 cubs and the mom. And if there are 2 fully grown ones, it should be a dad and a mom. After that, once they've done the job, they will separate again. Ruby, that's a good question. Most of the time, they do try to climb on, but for the lions, it's most difficult for them to jump down. They can't manage to turn if they're on top of the tree. So sometimes on the tree that it's a little bit easy for them to climb, that they can manage evenly to come back by reverse, they can climb. But she always, the leopard makes sure that whatever way they put the meat, the lion can't climb. The tree have to go straight up. So that it will be more difficult for the lion to climb on. And the leopard start to train to climb the tree while it's still young. So automatically, we're going to stay until to see if it's going to join the meal.
This is a beautiful Nyala. Hello, gorgeous girl. And there's a male close by too, but he's just moved out of view. Now, we've been taking a lot of time following some tracks, actually a few of us, of a Thandi and cub that's in this block, the block that you are looking at, and they haven't come out of this block. So we're hoping to get lucky along the roads for her to come out. You see, it's a bit difficult when she has a little one to be off-roading, not for us, but for her. We don't want her to be in a position where she feels that she doesn't have space or anything like that. So it's always nicest to see her in an open area. So we're just going around on the roads, see if we can spot her. Good news is, though, that the tracks have not come out. Perhaps she has a kill. Perhaps she's just lying up. That's why we were hoping our lovely Nyala here would maybe give us a clue, but you can see that she's quite relaxed and she's chewing away at her cud. She's going to throw one back up for us. There we go. Thank you. Very good show. Interestingly, the area that I'm checking now will terminate in the Tlalamba sighting. There's still a while to go, but it is interesting that it is very close. So she, as in Thandi, is somewhere in the block between Drakensberg and Central and Battelier, but she seems to be zigzagging according to the tracks, going east and then turning west and then going south and then turning north. So we've just got to hold thumbs and hope that we'll be lucky. And that we'll get clues from the other animals like we did yesterday when we found Tlalamba. Off she goes. You'll find Nyala and Kudu a lot more often in the thickets than just in the open area like you would with Impala. And their disruptive coloration, the stripes, as well as the dark color with the males. And the large ears assist them in being camouflaged and to hear well in the thickets, because the thickets can actually absorb a lot of sound, or rather distort a lot of sound. They need nice big ears to help them out. There's also a very pretty combretum there that has pretty pink peach leaves. sunset colored leaves. The day is still beautiful, and I hope that means we'll be able to find Thandi and cub.
The male lion has come a little bit closer towards the pride, and we have confirmed that it is one of the dominant males of this pride. And so that initial standoff when they were trying to recognize one another, they've now know that it's the Ross male. He knows that it's the Birmingham pride, and so they've all kind of relaxed. And he just started getting up, and he was walking close towards the pride, but they have settled down, or he has at least. But the cubs are quite curious, and they're almost wanting to go and say hello. So this one here is actually getting the closest. And so I'll keep quiet. It might be greeted with a snarl. Sometimes the males don't like the cubs. And one of the adult females is on her way towards the male. Yeah, I see. Look at his posture. I think that's more flirtatious than aggressive. That was definitely more aggressive than flirtatious. And just look at the size comparison between the male and the female. She is a really, really big lioness, but that male's much bigger than her. And she's still got the courage to go and stand up to him and just warn him to not play too rough with her cubs. He is really big. He's got that nice dark mane. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the pride greets him. We do have his brother on one side of the pride, and he's looking at him, not really doing much. So that kick back, if you were with us yesterday, you saw the male leopard doing the same thing. So that's just a way of reasserting his dominance, marking his territory. And this is his brother. And they're very, very similar in size. The only major difference is the color in their manes. And so this one is much lighter. So he's got a much more blonde mane compared to his darker maned brother. And it looks like he might be wanting to come and have something to drink. Heading straight to the pool. He's walking around the females. He's very wary of the females. And the cubs just want to greet him. They seem to be very interested in the underneath of his tail. Probably not the best place to be playing around if it's a grumpy male. And I think, he's looking like he's quite full. And so he might have just been feeding on the last remains of the carcass that the rest of the pride had. He could have even fed first, I guess, and then gone off to the side to rest so he didn't get annoyed by the rest of the pride. They could have gotten up and walked away whilst he was sleeping and he didn't quite realize it. And when he got up, he realized that there were no more lions around, so he could have tried to follow their scent back into this area, and that might have been how he found them again. He seems very thirsty. He's drinking a lot. I think it's a rather ineffective way to get water. They have to lap it up by using their tongue It's unfortunate that one in the foreground's just in the way. We don't get a very good view of it, but I mean, I'm sure he'll only, by the end of this, only drink maybe half a litre to a litre or so. So wild lover, a lion will get kicked out of its natal pride, so the pride that it grew up in, to basically to prevent it from mating with the females. So it's just nature's way of trying to make sure that the genetics within the lions remain as pure as possible. And so when these lions get to the age of about, the lion in the foreground actually that we're looking at now, if you look at him, he's a young male. And so him and his two brothers, who are, or brothers and cousins who are similar age, will leave together at around 2.5 to 3 years old. And so they move out, and it takes them a while for them to regain territory and to get the size and the strength that they need to become a dominant male like their father is. And during that time, theoretically, they would have moved further and further and further and further and further and further away from the pride of their mothers and their sisters. And so when they become dominant again, the chances of them coming back into the area to take over a pride that they're related to is very slim. So when they get to the chance where they're taking over a pride, it's unrelated. The genetics will still remain as pure as they possibly can, and it prevents the inbreeding of lions. I think, we always say that the males are the ones that chase the young males out, but I think there's quite a lot of, towards the end of the time in the pride of these young males, quite a lot of hostility towards them, because they're just so big, they eat so much, which means that these lionesses have to constantly provide more and more and more food. And eventually I think they just get annoyed with them, and they will also start putting pressure on the young males to leave. And that's why it's been so interesting to follow this pride and watch the young male, who's almost 5 years old now, and he's still with the pride that he grew up with. And I mean, it's slightly different because he's by himself, and so he obviously feels that it's a lot harder for him to go and leave by himself, whereas this white lion in picture has got two brothers, which will make their time alone much easier than just being one male.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to And Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And we have found something extremely special here. Now, as you can see, all these giraffes are standing and looking in one spot, and that is exactly how we found cheetah. Look at this. So this is a cheetah mother with her 3 little cubs. You can just see the cubs. And you can see this giraffe are maybe 20 meters away from her, right by her. And obviously with giraffe being so big, it's not a threat. The cheetah are not a threat to them. And it's actually such a good way of finding cheetahs, watching behavior of giraffe, because they just stand close to them and they all stare in one direction, as they are doing right now. What an amazing way to find an and these cheetah are all like the cubs, you can see.
This male lion has just finished drinking, And it seems like the cubs, or he's spurred a little bit of life into the pride, and so we might just hang around for a little bit longer just to see what happens. I'm sure, within the next few minutes the excitement will wear out and they'll go back to being, ooh. It all looked playful until, that young lion obviously just annoyed him, and within an instant he went from looking like he was tolerating it to just that warning slap. But it almost looks like this female now is trying to steer him away from the cubs. And he's got his head low down to the ground. He was trying to sniff. So he's probably looking and trying to figure out if she might be ready to mate. Another little subadult getting very close. See how interested he is. He goes straight down where she was. And I think this female's doing an amazing job in just steering his attention away from the annoying subadults to her. That's incredible. And it's probably almost exactly the same behavior that they would follow if it was an unrelated male. If they were coming in to try and take over this pride, you'll probably find there would be a couple of females that would try and steer the male's attention away from trying to kill the subadult cubs and focusing on mating with the females. So Mordecai, these young males that we've been seeing in shot are a little under 2 years old. So they're about 1 year and 9 months old now. And so they've probably still got around about 1 year or so left with the pride, if all things go according to plan, which often it doesn't in the bush. But you never know. That would make them between 2.5 and 3 years old. So they could still be around the pride for maybe another 1.5 years, closer to 2 years before they decide to leave. But one thing that I've noticed, and I think because we haven't really seen them when they crossed out to the west of Ngala, we didn't see them for a week, and they came back, and all of a sudden it looked like they had grown within a week only. And so the growing process is probably going to start accelerating from here, and I'm sure we'll start to see these cubs getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I think it seems like most of the action now has settled down, and we might come and check to see what they're up to this afternoon, but I think we're going to move on from here and see if we can find anything else interesting for the morning.
Welcome back to Djuma Natural Reserve. We're still on a sighting of Shalamba. Now she's on top of the tree. She have got moved from that side until to be here. Right in front over here, we have something that makes Shalamba to climb on the tree. That is a hyena. So the hyena comes straight and trying to sniff and sniff and sniff until Shalamba realized that the hyena is going to the tree, and therefore it's trying to come and protect its meat and climb on top of the tree. Not yet to start to eat, just relaxing as well as protecting its food. So can you see? The birds as well coming to tell us, hey, go away. Hi. Hi. Nice relaxing. And the sideways is watching, it's where the hyena is. Nils, can you spot the hyena? Okay, you can see the hyena is also asking a little bit piece of something to eat. But unfortunately, Shalamba said, no, you can't get anything. You need to work for yourself. So he's just lying down and forgive. That will wait for anything that can drop. If she drops something, you go for those droppers. So as now it's relaxing, also the hyena want to wait and see if Shalamba will start to eat. It's a very good day for the cats today. At Indian Pinda, Ngala, where you managed to see some lions. Now we are at Joma. You get a leopard. Oh, nice one. Pyramid, not at all. The hyena, they can't climb the tree. They're only hunting on the ground. And enjoy their food on the ground as well. So mostly they scavenging more than to kill for themselves. So it's more opportunity for the leopard to take the food up, for the hyena not to take over. Ceci, not definitely sure. The hyena do get some chances if they do get, but only if it is something dropping. They don't manage, they do hunt, but they don't kill for themselves. They don't suffocate at all. We'll stay here. Maybe she can start to eat.
Right, we have moved around to a slightly different position where we could see the three little youngsters a bit better, and look at this beautiful view of them. Right out in the open. The mother sitting slightly higher up than the cubs, just scanning around and making sure there's no threats around here. And the giraffe that helped us find them have moved off. So it was one of those things where it's just all worked out well. Perfect timing to see the giraffe staring in that one direction. And all we had to do was find out what the giraffe were actually looking at. So for those of you who haven't seen these three little cubs before, they are probably in the region of about 4 months old now. And you might be able to see from the picture that they have very big full bellies. So I think their mother must have caught something for them probably yesterday. And maybe they ate it throughout the day yesterday. And they've probably been resting here most of the night. Oh, these two are going to have a little snuggle session. It is rather cold here, so I'm not surprised. It seems like a good thing to do. Look at these cubs' little faces. It's like they've got these little grumpy faces. Don't know why. A cheetah cub always looks so grumpy. Pranav, the most suitable habitat would be quite a big open grassland, because it'll give them the opportunity to use that speed that they have to catch whatever antelope it is that they are after. But having said that, they also, it helps if they have a little bit of cover, so a few bushes or a few trees would probably help it out a little bit. But even an area like this is fine. They'll be able to dodge in and out of these trees. I've seen cheetah up in the northern parts of Phinda Private Game Reserve, which we haven't really been on this live safari yet. But that area is much thicker, a lot of trees, and the cheetah up there hunt even in there. There's a lot of nyala in those woodlands, and it's relatively easy for them to probably hunt those nyala in there. But the most suitable would definitely be a more open kind of habitat. Oh, look at the little young one going to the mother. I wonder if they're all going to join. Look at that. You can see it's cold just by the way they're lying. Just by the way they're lying. You can see they're all cuddled up as tightly as possible. So there's actually also some impala, probably about 100 meters behind them, which I don't think they've seen yet. And I'm guessing, I can't really see the mother properly, but I'm guessing she's probably also got quite a full belly, so I don't know if she's gonna, if she'll hunt them, even if she does see them, but it'll be very interesting to see. But they're not far away, and I don't know how they haven't seen the cheetah or the cheetah haven't seen them. Oh, there, mom is up. Oh, they are magnificent animals. Look at that. Dina, the cheetah actually don't make too much noise. They don't want to be heard by other animals because that will then attract lions or leopard or hyena to them, which they don't want because all those other animals are much stronger than them. But if they lost each other, if the mother, let's say, had to chase that impala and end up, 200 or 300 meters away from the cubs, she'll stop and she'll make this sounds like a bird. It's a bird-like chirp. And she will make that sound to call the cubs over. So that's really the only sound that cheetahs make, or normally. If there's a bit of fighting between cheetah, there's a few other weird, I suppose, cat-like noises. But that bird-like chirp is the only real sound that these cheetah will make. So I'm going to sit here a bit more. Let's see if anything happens with these impala in the distance. And we'll let you carry on somewhere else.
So we've moved slightly down the hill to one of the key rock art sites now, and the water points on top of these hills. The water point itself doesn't have water in, but we're going to move over there just now, and I'll show you exactly some other cool things over there. But while we're here, what I wanted to show you, and please note, I'm not sitting on the rock art site. We also avoid walking over them. Animals will do it, but we should never exacerbate the erosion process if we can help it at all. That's why we don't touch these things either. So over here, this is a very, very interesting one. You'll see this outline over here, and some of you may... You might notice this long neck over here, and then all the way up that side, and the head. So that is a giraffe. Okay, and that is very, very interesting because in rock art in these areas, giraffe are actually depicted very, very rarely. It's not a common thing. There are areas in Namibia where it becomes more common, northern Botswana as well. But what is particularly interesting about the fact that there's a giraffe here, and what I was talking about earlier in terms of the significance of these sites for shamans and that, in terms of water making, and we'll get more into detail on that just now. Giraffe, this is the only known one on Tswalu, okay, of a petroglyph of a giraffe, and they were incredibly important. And even today in central Botswana, there's communities there that believe giraffe actually have the ability to cure almost any kind of ailment that you may have. So the fact that at this site we've got a giraffe depicted, and not only a giraffe, this rock is actually broken off, but not recently. This rock is long broken off. And typically, the question leading on, remember about the cracks in the rock, that's why I love that question, is the shamans actually, or in sand culture, they believe that there's two different worlds. There's our physical world that we're in now, but then behind the veil of the rock, there's another world that's a whole spirit world. Okay, and a lot of animals and images of people are actually depicted exiting from cracks in the rock. And there's some really good examples on Tswalu, not just at this site, but in other areas as well. And the theory here on the research that was done on this particular site is that this giraffe neck was done deliberately right on the edge of here. There's actually there's a larger panel just which I'll show you now, that they could have done the entire giraffe on here, but they didn't. And they actually depicted running from there all the way up here. So it's almost as if this giraffe was moving out of that rock. So that's quite interesting. So just think that where we're sitting here, the belief was that, or is, that there's an entire spirit world below us. And that is absolutely fascinating. Annette says that this rock art is so interesting, and I totally agree with you. And my frustration is that just for all that we know about it, there's just so many questions left unanswered. the dating of these things is just one of those questions. And one way of, while we're on that topic, one way that we date this stuff is we look at the circumstantial evidence at the sites surrounding it. So we'll look at, okay, well, what stone flakes are present? Is there pottery present? They can do stratigraphy in any soil that's there and try to get some kind of age from that. And then you infer to say, well, okay, these things are present, therefore the likelihood of the artist having been over that time frame, it can be that kind of time frame. But that's a really tenuous thing that we're going on, especially in these open air environments. Cave systems, very different, very little disturbance on the stratigraphy, but open air is very challenging.
We're with some buffalo guys, and we're in the Mulwati. Same herd that we had before. They've just moved quite east into the Mulwati. So I did a loop, checked Central, Nyala Road South, and then ended up here. Found these lovely buffalo. It's a very, very loud, large herd, making a lot of noise. And some very little ones in the herd as well. We can see that there's quite a color variation amongst the herds, or amongst the herd. There's the youngsters that are really, really light brown. And that's for their own safety, so they can blend into the bush a little easier. The males, bulls, are very, very dark. And then the females are slightly more light, a little bit more russet-like. It's really nice to see them in the Mulwati because we hardly ever get to. They're always in the other areas, and the Mulwati is such a pretty space for any animal, really. Oh, there comes a little one. Come on. Up you go, so we can see you. There we are. They were actually running in the sand, which was very, very, very cute. Hi, Hannah. You'd like to know if buffalo have one set of teeth throughout their lives. That is unlikely, but I'm going to just check for you now, Hannah, because I've actually got a book with some teeth configurations. Most mammals have milk teeth. Let's see if we can find buffalo. La la. Okay, I'm going to read for you. They all have dentary pads or plate in the upper jaw, like we have with giraffes, we know that. And they lack incisors and canines in both the milk and permanent set. So that must mean that they have a milk and permanent set. African buffalo is unique and has no lower canines whatsoever. It has 8 lower incisors to make up for this. All the antelope have 2 flattened incisor forms, we know that. Canines and only 6 incisors in the lower jaw. In the milk set, here we go, all have 6 premolars in each jaw, but molars are absent. Virtually all species have permanent sets comprising 6 premolars in each jaw, except the wildebeest that only have 4 in the lower jaw, and springbok that have 4 in each. There are also an additional 6 molars in each jaw. So yes, they have milk teeth, as the answer to your question would be. I always like this book. It has a nice, neat little section on the teeth structure and the dentition of almost all the animals that we see out here. And I mean, lots of the time I don't think about buffalo teeth. But why shouldn't I when we can think of the other animals' teeth? They're now into the distance. There's still some behind us. They're a little bit difficult to see. They're moving south now. Well, there were tracks for the Talamati, it seems, in the northeastern corner, where we would expect to see them. So quite far from these buffalo at the moment. As for the Nkahumas, not sure where they are, but if they are in the south, perhaps they'll be lucky today. Fred, you'd like to know if buffalo have cooperative defense? They will tend to keep the youngsters in the middle of the herd if they see or suspect that there is a predator around. But quite honestly, when they have one buffalo taken by a lion, because of course it will single out a particularly ill or injured, ailing buffalo, then the others don't really come to its defense. You may get one that'll hang around, especially if it's a calf. Mother may hang around, but a lot of the time they don't. And I almost feel like if they all, or maybe even just 4 of them, turned around and started charging at the lion, their survival rate would be much higher, because no one wants to be trampled by a buffalo.
Will you take standby 1? Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, I was just talking to someone on the radio quickly about these cheetah, because as you can imagine, it's created some excitement among everyone. But this is an incredible sighting. Look at those 2 cubs closest to the mother, how they're actually lying on top of each other to keep warm. Even though it's already 9 o'clock or so? Yeah, after 9 o'clock, they are still, the sun hasn't come out yet, and they're still nice and chilly in the sun, in the shade there. And mostly very, very sleepy, these youngsters, anyway. Oh, for the first time, this mother's actually looked straight back to where those impala are. No, she looks like she's not very interested. What an incredible sighting. She's got all these little young lives to watch out for here. She has to make sure that she's keeping them safe, which is why she's constantly looking around, making sure there's no threats, anything that could be a threat to these little youngsters. Mads, these cubs, as I said earlier, are around about 4 months old now, and they will be with the mother until usually around about 1.5 years. At that stage, the cubs will split off. Oh, goodness. someone got a fright, the cubs will split off and they'll stay together for another couple of months, and then depending on the sexes, they will split up again. Oh, look at that. So if there's more than one male in this group, they will end up staying together for the rest of their life. If, let's say, they're all females, or if there's just one male, then all three of them will go their own separate ways after that. And that'll be around about 2 years old when they will completely split away and go off by themselves. But around the 1.5 year stage is when they'll split away from the mother, and she will then mate again and obviously become pregnant with more cubs and find a good spot to raise those ones. Now this mother, when she first gave birth, there were actually 4, and the first time we saw them, there were actually 4. Sorry, actually I lied. Not the first time we saw them, but someone else had seen them and there were 4. But the first time I actually saw them, something had happened to one of the little cubbies, and there were only 3 left. And luckily since then, which is probably about 1.5 months or so, since then there's been these 3, which is great news. Look at that beautiful white color under the mother's chin and down onto her chest, and even under the belly of these little youngsters too. These cubs will start eating meat at around the age of about 1.5 months, 1.5 months, even 2 months sometimes, but somewhere around there. That's when the mother will lead them off to wherever she has made a kill, and she will introduce them to meat. They'll still be suckling as well, and even now they will still be suckling too. So they're kind of eating meat and suckling at the moment. And that'll go on for another probably 2 months, that they will continue suckling and eating meat, and then after that it will be only meat. The sun is trying its absolute best to come out from the clouds, and I think they're enjoying getting a little bit of sunshine on them. Okay, we are going to have to move off and give someone else a chance to come in here. And while we do that, we'll let you carry on with your safari.
Welcome back. I believe that you did enjoy the cheetahs in that area. So we are still on Tlalamba. Tlalamba, she's still lying up. On top of her, there is sort of like a young impala that she can manage to pull up on a tree. That's very nice. Trying to settle for herself. That mustn't fall, because you just want to relax. Snipchick, that's a good question, because it is something special to be on a tree and sleeping and not falling. So for them at all, they did certainly. I have never ever see any leopard falling on a tree because of sleeping. Even though when she decided to jump down, she moved until she get closer where she can jump very softly and gently. So the same applies to that food for them. Evenly the wind can blow. It won't fall because she did make sure that whatever she put it, it's exactly in the branches that they can't manage to let it fall. So even for herself, she hang and she balances that I won't get fall easy. No matter the wind can blow, they won't interrupt her. Just only to wake up, if it is very strong wind, to make sure that I could hear anything comes. That's a good question. It's a well camouflaged animal that most of the time they're using their camouflage spot for hunting, not to see easily. That's why for leopard it's easy sometimes to win for the prey to get food, because like now the grass is sort of like grayish, and for her it's also have got sort of a golden spot. That golden spot also help them to camouflage for themselves on this gray. Yes, Lieutenant. Yes, they do. It's a perfect face. Fire, she also hiding again. Nice spots in face. If you look at their eyes, they sort of have got a white rim that helps them to be seen well during the night. They are very active mostly in the night more than during the day. And if it's during the night, those animals have got a white rim on their eyes They can't see very well. Aroma, it is a difficult question for me to answer. I will be lying if I said yes, she can dream, because I don't know what she is dreaming about. She won't tell me she was dreaming or not. So I'm not definitely sure whatever they do dream or not. It might be dreaming. We'll stay here. She's starting to move on.
So we had a brief look at the giraffe just now, and I was telling you how important that is as a healing animal, and there's very few of them around, depicted in rock art and Tswalu. In fact, that's the only one. What is depicted, a species that is depicted very commonly in Southern African rock art, and is critically important as a central species in their culture, are eland. Now, we've had a couple of sightings of eland on our drives already over the past couple of weeks, but here's a beautiful example of it actually portrayed on the rock. So I'll start at the back. You got the tail, then moving over to the head here, to the hump on the neck, and across to the horns, and then there's the head over there, the face coming down to the front legs, back, the penis, the working parts, and then the hind leg and back up. These are incredibly accurate depictions in terms of the scale of the animal. I would not be able to chip out a thing like that, not for love or money, and I won't try either. But even drawing one would be dismal. But if you think that these were done just with stone tools, and the technique is what we call pecking. So you got different kinds. You got incised or the male actually.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. It's managed to start feeding for herself. As she's together with the meat, you can see what is now pulling on. She's now having a brunch, because I would say it's a brunch breakfast. That's very nice, together with that young male impala. She's also using those horns to grab it, not to fall the meat, that she can enjoy as much as it is until the last piece on her head stay behind. Maybe she can think about my poor hyena to drop a little bit, that the hyena can enjoy it on the last day. But as she's crunching, let's have a little bit moment of listening. You can maybe hear the breaking bones. Alester, no, sometimes, but it's very rare. Most of the time, the vultures doesn't have a chance to go over there because the vultures, mostly they enjoy to land on a ground where they can. For those small branches to jump over there, they have got big wings that they can. It will be difficult for them to land and jumping. They are not good for jumping to another branch until they reach that area. But they can try if it is on a big log where they can manage to land and fly in. So the leopard should make sure that where she put will stay right over here.
So apologies, we lost you there for a little bit, or you lost me for a little bit. Yeah, so these eland are incredibly important animals in terms of their cultural significance as a food source, but also in terms of creation of rain. And why that is the most amazing thing is they actually believed, the San believed that there was what we call a rain animal. And they even have separate names for different kinds of rain. They talk about the rain having legs, and all of you will know, if you've seen a rainstorm developing in the distance, you get these streaks hanging out below the clouds, and they talk about the rain having legs. And they had the denotations for female rain and male rain. So as you'd think, the big heavy downpours would be the male rain, so these big thunderstorms. The very soft light drizzle was female rain. So they believed that you had a rain animal that actually lived in the clouds, and occasionally these rain animals would actually come down to earth in soft drizzle or mist, and they would actually reside on these mountaintops, in rock pools on mountaintops. That's where these rain animals would stay. So this environment that we're in was the perfect place, like those rock pools that we saw at the top, where these rain animals would live. And the shamans would actually try to catch the rain animal on top of these hills during these trance dances, and they would actually kill the rain animal on top here, so its blood would seep into the rocks, and that's what would and flow down onto the plains, and that is what caused the rain on the low-lying areas. How amazing is that?
Quick link leopard.
Oh, we got some great leopards. Head over that way.
So we've got Thandi, but she's just ran off. Now hopefully we're going to be able to see her again. I wonder if she's hunting. Alright, let's just look out in this direction. And just wait, we've just missed her. She just sprinted off all of a sudden. And I did see a tail up in the air, so I think she might have been hunting. We saw her quite a distance away. Okay, well, hopefully we'll find her again, but it wasn't...
She's here near our vehicle.
Okay, we're gonna get her. Copy, making my way. There's another vehicle here. And she's... Okay, there she is. She's gonna walk by on the side now. Hello, Thandi girl. How wonderful to see you. We've been just too lucky with leopards. Just too lucky. And she walked right in front of our vehicle. I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier to bring you a last minute leopard. We have 20 seconds more of Thandi walking away, and hopefully we'll be able to find her this afternoon for sunset safari. Well, thank you guys for your questions and your comments. What a spectacular end. We'll see you this afternoon, hopefully with more leopards. Bye for now.